Which are the psychological needs arising from our social environment? From the previously described characteristics of modern societies, a number of basic psychological needs can emerge which, if permanently neglected, can have negative consequences for mental health and well-being. Due to the nature of the stresses of modern life, most threats do not allow for an immediate physical response. We can neither fight them nor run away from them. Therefore, over time, our stress load grows, and we risk entering into the exhaustion stage of the general stress model, which is associated with various psychological and health consequences. But while the need for physical recovery is relatively obvious and can only be ignored for a very limited stretch of time, the need for psychological or mental recovery is less tangible and easier to ignore. A pronounced future orientation, competing social demands, and the use of social media lead to a permanent state of not being ready yet, of still having to do something, of also having to concentrate on other places. In such a state of mind, it is very difficult to switch off and recover, so that this creates an urgent need for us to at least from time to time interrupt the constant background noises in our mind. Mindfulness is one concept that addresses the psychological need of connecting with the present moment and situation. The popular flow theory of the late Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi points into the same direction, describing flow as a subjective state that people perceive when they fully engage in something, forgetting about time, fatigue, and everything but the activity itself. Just like children do in play or athletes who fully concentrate on their activity. In an increasingly digital world, sensory activities are an important tool for integrating body and mind. As Eastern inner science has found, activating sensory perception is an important factor in establishing harmony and empathy with oneself and providing a stabilizing and antidissociative factor. In a globalized, digitalized world based on the division of labor, individuals often feel like they are just a small cog in the big wheel, and the threat of global crises adds to this sense of being vulnerable and powerless. American psychologists Richard Ryan and Edward Deci have shown in their theory of self-determination that it is precisely the feelings of autonomy, competence, and self-efficacy that are our most basic psychological needs. And from their Canadian colleague Albert Bandura we know that the perceived level of efficacy decides whether we perceive a situation as stressful or not. So, against this background, it is important that we regularly have the experience of mastering something really well and being in control of a situation, in order to boost our general self-efficacy beliefs. The large number of current crises, the pressure from social media, a growing social insecurity create an urgent need for a safe haven. An important way to empower people, especially those affected by crises, is through psychosocial support, which aims to strengthen the resilience of individuals, groups, and communities. Since positive and negative emotions seem to be independent of each other, the elimination of negative emotions does not automatically lead to the appearance of positive emotions. But because we know from positive psychology that positive emotions are closely linked to physical and mental health, it is necessary to use positive psychological interventions when it comes to mental health. Some researchers argue that adults often become distressed because they can no longer recollect joy. So, this means that there is not just a need for being physically active but also for having fun while exercising. So how can sport and exercise now be used to strengthen our mental health and well-being? Well, the simplest answer on this probably is by using sport and exercise to help meet the psychological needs described before.